Before he became a household name as the gruff yet lovable Lou Grant, Ed Asner was just a working-class kid from Kansas City with big dreams and a bigger voice. But behind the booming laugh and commanding presence was a story few ever knew, a life shaped by hardship, perseverance, and a relentless fight for dignity and purpose. This is the untold story of Ed Asner, from the modest streets of Kansas to the fading echoes in an abandoned house and everything in between. Before we dive into video, please subscribe our channel. Edward Asner, known to the world as Ed Asner, was born on November 15, 1929, in Kansas City, Missouri. The youngest son of Orthodox Jewish immigrants, Ed's early life was defined by strong family values and a modest upbringing. His father, Morris David Asner, ran a second-hand shop and junkyard, working tirelessly to provide for the family. His mother, Lizzie Seliger, was a homemaker who held the household together with quiet strength and wisdom. Life in the Asner household was simple, but grounded in discipline, tradition, and hope. Ed was raised with 5 siblings, and the family spoke Yiddish at home. The culture of storytelling, laughter, and arguments around the dinner table would one day shape his unique voice and sharp, expressive acting style. But as a child, he never imagined the bright lights of Hollywood. Instead, he thought he'd follow in his father's footsteps, or maybe find a job at the local steel plant. Ed attended Wyandotte High School in Kansas City, Kansas, where he first discovered his talent for performance. A shy child by nature, he found his voice on the stage. After high school, he enrolled at the University of Chicago, originally studying journalism. But fate had other plans. It was there he joined the Playwrights Theater Club, a stepping stone that would launch the careers of many acting legends, including Paul Sills and Mike Nichols. Yet, like most working-class kids chasing a dream, Ed's path was anything but easy. His early years were full of self-doubt, day jobs, and a search for identity. Still, something in him refused to quit. Even when the odds stacked high, Ed Asner kept pushing forward, powered by resilience born in the heartland of America. But how did this humble son of immigrants transform from a struggling Midwestern actor to one of television's most iconic faces? After leaving the University of Chicago, Ed Asner knew he wanted to act. But chasing dreams is never simple, especially for someone with no connections in the entertainment world. He moved to New York City, the heart of American theater, hoping to find a break. In the beginning, life was tough. He worked odd jobs to pay rent and ate cheap meals to survive. He often took roles in small plays and off-Broadway productions, performing for small crowds and little pay. Still, he kept going, believing that one day his hard work would lead to something bigger. During this time, Ed joined the U.S. Army and served for a short period, where he worked in the Signal Corps. Even while serving, his love for acting never left him. After returning, he continued to pursue theater. He later joined the Playwrights Theater Club in Chicago, where he performed with other rising stars. But the big stage and television still seemed far away. In the 1950s, Ed made his way to Los Angeles. Hollywood was calling, but it did not open its doors easily. He auditioned again and again, often hearing no. Many casting agents told him he did not look like a star. He was not the tall, handsome type people expected. But Ed had something better: raw talent, a deep voice, and a powerful presence. Finally, small roles started coming. He appeared in TV shows like Naked City and The Untouchables. Though the parts were small, they showed his ability to bring emotion and depth to every character. Slowly, the industry began to notice him. He was still far from fame, but Ed Asner was no longer invisible. A major role was just around the corner, a role that would change everything. Ed Asner's long journey through theater and small television roles finally brought him to the moment that would change his life forever. In 1970, he was cast as Lou Grant, the tough and sharp-witted newsroom boss on The Mary Tyler Moore Show. At first, he thought it would be just another role, but the world saw something different. His performance was honest, strong, and deeply human. Lou Grant became a favorite character, and Ed Asner became a household name. The show was a huge hit, running for 7 seasons. It was funny, clever, and ahead of its time. Ed's character was gruff, but he had a soft side that viewers loved. He showed that strength and kindness could exist in the same person. Critics praised his work, and fans felt connected to him. He won 3 Emmy Awards for playing Lou Grant on the comedy series. But the journey did not stop there. When The Mary Tyler Moore Show ended in 1977, most people thought Lou Grant's story was over. But in a rare move, Ed Asner continued the character in a new series called Lou Grant. This time, the show was not a comedy. It was a serious drama about journalism and real-life issues. Audiences were surprised by how well Ed handled the change in tone. His performance was powerful, emotional, and real. He won 2 more Emmys for the dramatic version of Lou Grant, proving his range as an actor. By the 1980s, Ed Asner was not just famous, he was respected. He had become one of the few actors in history to win Emmys for playing the same character in both comedy and drama. But while fame had finally arrived, not everything in Ed's life was smooth behind the scenes. Fame brought Ed Asner into the spotlight, but his home life remained humble and grounded. He never chased the flashy lifestyle that many stars followed. Instead of huge mansions or luxury cars, Ed preferred a quiet and simple life. For many years, he lived in a modest home in the San Fernando Valley, California. The house was not very large or glamorous, but it was filled with warmth, books, memories, and laughter. It was a peaceful space where he could relax, think deeply, and enjoy time with his children. The walls of his home told stories. Old photographs of his family, his acting days, awards, and personal moments were placed throughout. Friends who visited often said the house felt like a place of comfort, not a museum of fame. Ed did not care about showing off. He cared about feeling safe and surrounded by things that mattered: love, honesty, and family. But after Ed's health began to decline in his later years, he spent less time at home. Eventually, the house was left behind. After his death in 2021, the property was no longer the lively, loving place it had once been. Over time, the home fell into disrepair, paint peeled from the walls. The garden that once bloomed with life grew wild and untended. Furniture remained, but it was covered in dust and silence. Neighbors remembered the house as the one where Ed used to wave from the porch or walk with his grandchildren. Now it stood still, an abandoned place holding the echoes of a great man's life. It was a sad sight, especially for those who knew what the home had once meant. But behind those closed doors, another important part of Ed's life had taken place: the story of his family, love, and relationships. Behind Ed Asner's strong screen presence was a man who deeply valued love, family, and connection. Though he became a familiar face to millions, his personal life was full of quiet joys, complex emotions, and challenges many never saw. In 1959, Ed married Nancy Sykes. The couple shared many happy years together and built a life filled with shared dreams and 3 beautiful children, twins Matthew and Liza, and their youngest daughter, Kate. Ed was a loving and involved father, often taking time off from busy filming schedules to spend moments with his family. He read bedtime stories, helped with homework, and made his children laugh with his deep, expressive voice. For a time, everything seemed perfect. But as Ed's fame grew, so did the pressures of his career. Long hours, travel, and the constant demands of the spotlight began to take a toll on the marriage. After more than 2 decades together, Ed and Nancy divorced in 1988. It was a difficult period in his life, one filled with sadness and self-reflection. Despite the separation, Ed remained close to his children and made sure to be present in their lives. Later, Ed had another child, Charles, from a separate relationship with producer Carol Jean Vogelman. He accepted this responsibility with open arms and loved his son deeply. Ed was always proud of his role as a father. No matter how busy he was, his children were never far from his thoughts. Though Ed never remarried, he had meaningful relationships throughout his life. In his final years, he often spoke about the importance of love, trust, and forgiveness. He believed in second chances and in the power of family to heal old wounds. But even with a life full of emotional wealth, people were always curious. What did Ed Asner leave behind in terms of money and success? Ed Asner had a long and successful career in television, film, and voice acting that lasted over 6 decades. He became one of the most respected names in Hollywood, but unlike many stars, Ed never lived for money. He worked hard, lived simply, and gave generously. When he passed away in August 2021 at the age of 91, people began to wonder, what was the financial legacy he left behind? At the time of his death, Ed Asner's net worth was estimated to be around $10 million. This amount came from years of steady work in acting, voiceovers, and appearances. His most famous role as Lou Grant paid him well over the years, but it was not his only source of income. He also voiced the beloved character Carl Fredricksen in Pixar's Up, which became one of his most iconic roles in later life. His deep voice and emotional delivery won hearts all over the world. Besides acting, Ed also made money through personal appearances, guest roles, and occasional directing work. However, Ed was never flashy with his wealth. He did not own luxury cars or private jets. Instead, he supported causes he believed in, including labor rights, education, and disability advocacy. He donated money to different charities and even supported projects for children with autism, especially after learning his grandson had the condition. Ed also put money aside for his children and grandchildren. He believed that wealth should be used for good, not only for personal comfort, but to help others. His financial decisions reflected his values of kindness, humility, and responsibility. Though he left behind a decent fortune, Ed's true wealth was in the legacy he built, one of love, hard work, and purpose. But even someone as respected as Ed Asner faced moments of struggle and controversy. Even with fame and respect, Ed Asner's journey was not free from challenges. He was never afraid to speak his mind, even when his views went against powerful voices in Hollywood or politics. This courage brought him praise, but it also led to serious setbacks in his career. In the early 1980s, during his time starring in the drama series Lou Grant, Ed became outspoken about U.S. foreign policy, especially regarding conflicts in Central America. He publicly criticized government actions, supported humanitarian efforts, and used his platform to raise awareness. These statements made headlines, and many believed they led to problems behind the scenes. Not long after, The Lou Grant Show, which was still performing well in terms of quality and fan support, was suddenly canceled by CBS in 1982. While the network gave no political reason for the decision, Ed and others strongly believed it was due to his activism. It was a painful moment for him. He had poured his heart into that role and into telling important stories, only to be silenced because of his beliefs. In addition, Ed's role as president of the Screen Actors Guild, SAG, from 1981 to 1985, also brought him into conflict with others. He stood up for actors' rights, fair contracts, and equal treatment, even when it meant facing strong opposition. Some in the industry saw him as too outspoken, too political, or too difficult. These years were not easy. Offers slowed down. Ed began to take smaller roles just to stay active in the field he loved, but he never apologized for standing up for what he believed in. He stayed true to his values, even when it cost him work or popularity. Still, Ed Asner was not the kind of man who gave up. In time, he made a powerful return, reminding everyone why he was one of the greats. In his later years, Ed Asner made a quiet but powerful comeback. From voicing Carl in, up to appearing in shows like Cobra Kai and Grace and Frankie, he proved his talent never faded. He continued working into his 90s, inspiring new generations. Even after his passing in 2021, his legacy lives on, not just through his roles, but through his kindness, activism, and love for storytelling. Ed Asner was more than an actor. He was a voice for justice, a heart full of passion, and a symbol of strength that will never be forgotten.